Obviously defeat last week, but I get the impression you felt there was plenty to build on in that performance.
Yeah, look, I think when we sort of look back at it, and even at the time, straight after the game, I felt there were some encouraging signs within that performance. I thought we showed some intent at times defensively. I thought we challenged Wakefield at times with the ball. The reality is for us is we're just not doing it for long enough periods and consistently enough for long enough periods in a game, and ultimately that's where we're coming unstuck at the moment. So, but there were some encouraging signs for us to build on into this week.
How's players' confidence at the moment?
Oh, look, I think the confidence is down. You could say it's down at the moment. We're not playing with confidence. But I know there's been a lot of disruption. I think through the final part of the sort of pre-season, it hasn't sort of gone to plan as we'd sort of scripted. And there's been a little bit of disruption within the playing group there with injuries and suspensions. But we're not making any excuses about that. It doesn't excuse some of the levels of performance that we've seen from certain players and the team collectively. But ultimately, we've sort of for me, this past month, it's done. We can't look back. At the end of the day, we can't change it. We can't control it. All we can do now is look forward and look forward to trying to improve in those areas of our game that we need to improve in order to get us some consistency in our performance to ultimately earn some results. What I'm really looking forward to is starting to get a few troops back so we can just genuinely build some continuity within the team. And I think it doesn't help when you're having to move each week players out of different positions and you just can't get that that cohesion, so to speak. And we had a really good pre-season built around certain people in certain positions to go into the season with, and it just hasn't transpired like that. But hey, that's the nature of the game. That's sport, and you have to adapt and overcome and find ways to navigate that, and that's what we're doing at the moment. And I really do truly believe we will overcome this tough period. And every club has periods throughout the season where you're contending with different factors within your club, within your team, regarding injuries, suspensions, etc. People not playing out of form, or people having things going on in their lives away from rugby, and you've just got to manage that as best you can. So look, we're not where we want to be at the moment. We understand that, we accept that. But we're working incredibly hard behind the scenes to turn that around. And I have every confidence that this group will.
Hoping for players back. Have you got anyone back for this weekend?
Potentially.
So let's catch up with, firstly, Ollie Field, who left the field on Sunday. How is he? What was his problem?
Yeah, it's a bit of a respiratory sort of issue at the moment with him. So we're doing some further investigation with that one. So we'll get some more updates on him when we know more.
And Liam Harris back as well after that one-match suspension, or at least available again?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
One player who won't be coming back, Richie Myler, having moved on now from the Knights. I suppose the first question is, did that happen as suddenly as what it appeared from the outside? Well,
it did for me, because I certainly wasn't aware of it until really after the game on Sunday. So it has happened very, very quickly. I know Richie obviously was disappointed with the injury at the time. He was really invested in trying to build something here at York with us and help us on our journey. And I know how excited he was about that when he joined us. And like I said, we had a really good pre-season. We built a pre-season around him and Liam Harris and Will Dagger there as our spine. And it's just unfortunate we've not really been able to see that come to fruition yet. But now obviously won't come to fruition with now Richie leaving the club. But there's no hard feelings from me personally. Look, he took a terrible injury at Doncaster. Really innocuous. He's just fending a player, and he's unfortunately ruptured all the ligaments off his elbow there. So he was going to be out for a fairly long period of time. He's obviously reflected on that with his family and just felt having to go through that process of rehabilitation to then come back for potentially a month or two, and maybe didn't probably have the desire to play on after this year. It's like, well, and almost what's the point, especially when an opportunity like that has presented itself, so suddenly at Hull FC, which for him I think is a great opportunity, an exciting one for him, and I certainly wish him all the best with that. And it's just unfortunate for us. But again, as I said earlier, you're challenged with these sort of situations and scenarios, and that's the nature of being a coach, and you have to adapt and overcome and find ways to navigate through these periods. So we will do.
So where does that leave you with half-back? Is it a gap that you'll try and fill, or are you just going to work with what you've got?
Oh, well, look, at the moment, we've still got enough there when we're all sort of back and available. Obviously, with Liam Harris, we've got Hingano, we've got Nikhil Williams, Will Dagger can have a spell in the halves if he needs to as well when he's back from injury. So we've still got a little bit of cover there in the halfback role. But again, that'll be a conversation I'll have with the owner to sit down and have a look and see if there's, if there is now going to be funds available to look further into the market. Hopefully there will be, but I know we have been sort of talking and having discussions about looking to bring some bodies in, so we'll know more when they transpire, if they transpire.
How much of a setback is it losing the player that you have trained with in the halves all through pre-season? I mean, obviously you've not had a settled half-back partnership yet either, but how big a setback is it?
Yeah, it is a setback because, you've built, we had a really good, like I said, when I compared this pre-season to the last pre-season, it's been so much better because we had numbers to start with, so we were able to accelerate, the development of the team a little bit quicker this year than compared to last year. And obviously having, 12 months as well, under me, they've sort of know the sort of systems and structures we're working to. So I thought we had a really productive pre-season. And again, like I said, it was all built around that spine of Harris, Myler and Dagger. But unfortunately, like I said, it's we haven't been able to see that really other than sort of Oldham and Sheffield. We hadn't seen that in the actual league season yet, and obviously won't now. So it's not ideal, I'm not going to lie, but that's the nature of the beast, so we just got to, like I said, utilise the tools that we have at our disposal, which I still think we've got some quality players in those positions, as I highlighted before, that can do a tremendous job there. So so I'm not too worried about that, and like I said, and if we have the opportunity to bring in some more quality to add to the team to strengthen us, then we will do.
You brought a trialist in last week.
Yep.
Still to see him. He is on trial, so how do you intend to use him, to have a look at him?
Well, there's two options. We could have a look at him at Newcastle and see how he goes there at that level. Obviously, we've seen some footage of him to invite him on trial, and the fact that he's backing himself as well to come on trial, I think shows a little bit about the character of the man. So, but look, what we're probably hoping from Robin is that he'll be a bit of a point of difference for us. He's 6'4", 115 kilos. He's got some good leg speed. But the reality is, he has probably got some raw elements to his game too. We've obviously got the challenge of the language barrier. His English is very, very basic, and he's obviously learning lessons, etc., which is great. I'm going to have to probably take a little bit of lessons on the French too to try and help communicate a little bit better. But look, we just, the fact is he got brought to our attention. We had a little bit of look at some of the footage, had a conversation with him, with a translator, obviously, and got some good vibes there, and just thought, it costs us nothing. Let's get him over, have a look at him. If he gives us something, great, and if he doesn't, well, nothing lost there, is there? So we understand we do need to add a point of difference there in our pack, and hopefully he may be the answer.
But not likely to see him yet in the first team?
I'm not too sure. I'll make a call on that. Reality is he only flew in last Thursday, so he's only effectively had two training sessions with us. So I'll assess a little bit more this week, and whether he features against Bradford, we'll make that call at the back end of the week. But there's a chance he won't either.
So Bradford, you've got home advantage. It's always been quite tight against Bradford for the last few seasons, the odd exception here and there. How do you see them this year?
I think I think they're playing really well, to be honest. I think the squad, when I look at the squad, I think compared to last season, I think they've got a better balance to it, if I'm honest. I think the squad for them looks stronger than they had last season. I think Eamon O'Carroll's doing a tremendous job at the moment with his team. I think they're playing some really good rugby league at the moment. So I think as a Bradford fan, you're probably happy with the level of performances you're seeing from your team. So they're going to be a tough proposition on Sunday. I think they're playing with some confidence too. It's one of those. We're going to have to really raise our levels in terms of our energy and our intent, and we're just going to have to do the best to combat a very good Bradford side at the moment. But like I said, I do believe in our group that we have the ability to do that. So I think it makes for a cracking game. But we're certainly going to have to be at our best on Sunday if we're going to earn a result, no doubt about it.
And finally, Charlie Severs and Tom Nicholson-Watton recalled last week from their loan spells. What's the situation with those two? Yeah,
so Tom won't be available this week. He's potentially going to feature for Leeds. Charlie Severs, I got the message yesterday, will be available for us.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Into the playoffs last season after some that late season resurgence. Obviously, you'd have liked to continue that momentum in 2024. How tough has it been trying to continue that momentum, obviously with the injuries and the suspensions to key players?
Yeah, look, I think what you've just said there, Mick, has been a big part of probably why we haven't been able to get that momentum, because we haven't had that continuity. So obviously, there has been a couple of changes to the playing group from the one that sort of got on that run at the back end of last year, but not too many changes. The core of that side is still there, but ultimately, I think we've had anywhere from 7 to 9 of what I class our starting 17 missing in any given week from round 1 to round 4. So, look, that's a challenge, I think, for any team at any level in any competition, to be honest with you. It just means that we just haven't been able to get that continuity, especially in your pivotal positions as well. It has been challenging, but again, for me, we're not going to be a coach that's going to be built on excuses and say, well, that's the full reason, because I still believe we've got a talented squad there at our disposal that means that if people are injured or whatever, they can step in and do a job. And ultimately, we probably just haven't had enough players playing to the standard and delivering enough consistency in their performances over the course of the 4 games, and that's why we find ourselves currently with no wins from 4 and bottom of the table. But there's certainly no panic here at this club, or no panic certainly from me. I do believe that we've got a quality squad of players there that will turn the tide. When that is, I don't know, but we're certainly working incredibly hard behind the scenes to get us back on the front foot.
The fact that this appears to be 2023 repeating itself, does that give you confidence, Andrew, that you've been here before, that there's that little bit of familiarity, that you can get yourself out of this little hole?
Absolutely, Mick. I've sort of reminded the group of that. We've seen plenty of diversity last season as a group of players with a very young squad as well, and we managed to overcome that and come through it together. So it's no different this year. Has it gone to plan how we would have liked? No. But we can't change that. We can't control that now. That's gone. So this first month is, it's gone. Can't change it. There's no point dwelling on it. Let's focus on what's to come. There's still 22 rounds of rugby league football, 44 points still up for grabs. So there's plenty of time to get ourselves back on the horse, as they say, and pick up points and move up the table. So, obviously we'd like that to happen sooner rather than later, of course. But there's certainly no panic at this stage.
You mentioned, I think, after the Barrow game, that you felt that the scoreboard didn't reflect your overall performance. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, I just felt we deserved something from the game, whether it was a point or I just felt that was that type of game. Don't get me wrong, Barrow, they did a great job on their part, but I did feel our efforts and how we played with, again, we had some adversity in that game. We lost, 2 outside backs in Will Dagger and Jimmy Kynlos in the first 15 minutes of the game. So we effectively played 3/4 of the game with 15 players. And again, having to move people out of position, it caused disruption. And we were 14-8 up with literally 8 minutes to go. We should have had enough to close the game out. And it took a trick kick from Barrow to unlock us, and then ultimately an error on our part that gifted Barrow the field position to knock over the 1-pointer. So I felt for the playing group that day, Mick, because I did feel that they weren't rewarded for the efforts, but you don't always get what you deserve, and that's the nature of sport. And again, we just got to make sure that we are better. When we are in those positions again, where it's a tight game, we've got to be a little bit smarter in how we close those games out, and be aware of other factors as well potentially. So it was a good learning curve for us. Just disappointing that we weren't able to pick up a point or two on that day. And but like I said, there's enough signs for me to show that we've got a group here that care, and a group that are determined to achieve something.
Just on the injury front, what's the current sort of outlook? 'Cause obviously, I don't think Jesse D. What's the latest with Jesse?
Yeah, no, he's got a bicep tear at the moment, mate. So it's likelihood, mate, that he'll be out for a few weeks. So mate, we're doing it tough at the moment. Obviously, Bailey Antrobus is out, and Levi Edwards, long-term injuries. Obviously they'd be in your starting 17 if they were available, and then we've had Nick Williams out on suspension, Liam Harris out on suspension, Will Dagger with that horrific injury he took at Barrow, which was so freakish. I don't know if you saw that one, but so he's out with that. Jimmy Kynlos was missing last week with an ankle. Jesse D with his bicep. I'm trying to think who else. There's James Cunningham's out currently as well with a back issue, and who else is there, mate? Let me keep going. Brendan Santi's out as well with a calf issue, and then obviously Richie Myler was out with his elbow as well. So yeah, there's probably more on that list. I can't just think totally off the top of my head, mate. But it's quite a horrendous injury list for us at the moment. And like you'd say, you'd argue most of those players, if not all of them, Nicky Williams suspended too. You'd argue they'd all be in your starting 17. So yeah, it has caused a little bit of disruption for us, but like you said, mate, we just got to hold our nerve and navigate through these choppy waters, which we will do. And I'm not saying it's going to be smooth sailing, for the rest of the season, but I'd like to think we'll get into better conditions, soon rather than later.
And obviously, if you do manage to navigate this tough period of adversity, then that obviously will, in your opinion, it'd bring you quite a few rewards, certainly psychologically.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And we've still got, like I said earlier, Mick, we've got 22 rounds still to go, so there's 44 points up for grabs. We're still in the semi-final for a major trophy as well in the 1895 Cup. So, we get a couple of wins in the next few weeks and we manage to secure a place in the final of the 1895 Cup. All of a sudden the landscape looks different, and then we've still got quite a long way of the season to go. So I'd much rather be contending with this now than I'd hate to be contending with this at the back end of a season when you've had a pretty consistent year and then you get hit with this injury crisis, suspensions and all that, and it just derails your season and then you come unstuck at the final end. So, and I do believe every club or most clubs will have a period where they just have a drop-off of form or a drop-off of confidence, or they have a bit of an impact with suspension. Every club goes through it, mate. So we're just suffering at the moment, but hopefully, like I said, it won't be too much longer, and we can start to get a few bodies back on the field, and hopefully we'll start to see a little bit of upturn in fortunes for us moving forward.
In terms of bodies back for this week, obviously Liam Harris is back from suspension. Is there anybody else likely to be back? Are you talking to Clint about potentially, obviously Jacob Gannon coming last week? Are you potentially looking to bring anybody else in this week?
Yeah. So listen, I'm not going to give too much away, Mick, but there's potentially, some players will be available back this week, which will help us. And again, as I said, we are actively looking in the market at the moment to try and, bolster the squad as we need to.
On Richie Myler, obviously, he was built up as one of the big marquee signings. How much of a blow is losing Richie going to be moving forward?
Well, it is a blow naturally, mate, because we sort of built our pre-season around, him being one of our spine players or pivotal players. We sort of worked a lot in pre-season on him being on that left edge and build those combinations with Liam Harris and Will Dagger. And it was, like I said, I thought we had a really, really good sort of pre-season campaign in terms of training-wise, but then ultimately we've just not been able to get that on the field as much as we would have liked. So, so it's certainly not helpful, but we're fortunate, I believe, that we have got two quality players in those pivotal positions in Nicky Williams and Atta Hingano that can do a job there. So so we're not like we've got no one else available that can step up and do the job. We've got them. It's just unfortunately Nicky is out at the moment, and obviously Atta, who, if I'm honest, mate, we were looking at using in a loose forward role this year, is having to cover for us in the halves currently.
And just a little bit on that decision to retire, and obviously the new director of Hull role on a 3-year deal, Andrew.
Yeah, well, look, for me, I spoke to Richie and, I made it very clear to him there's no hard feelings from my point of view. I know how genuinely excited he was to join York and be part of this journey and help the club and the team progress forward. But ultimately, I think, after sustaining that, it was a bad injury, mate. I'm not going to lie. He's ripped his ligaments off his elbow there. So it was going to keep him out for quite a number of months. And he's obviously reflected on that with his family and thought, well, it's a long rehabilitation process to potentially come back for a month or two at the back end of the year. I'm likely probably not going to play on beyond this year. Is it worth it? And then all of a sudden, this opportunity presents itself at Hull. It's a no-brainer for him, really. I've got no hard feelings for him. I wish him all the best. I think it's an exciting opportunity for him there, because if he can go in there and get that club right, it's a big opportunity, isn't it? Like, it's a sleeping giant, is Hull FC. So, if he gets it right there, mate, he's he'll be onto something. So, but I wish him all the best.
On to this weekend's game. Bradford Bulls are visitors to the LNER Stadium. Two clubs who, in my opinion, have grown together since the 2018 season when they had that amazing League One promotion race. These games are what the Championship's all about, really exciting, and 9 times out of 10, there's very little between the two sides.
Yeah, no, we've always had some good battles over the years, haven't we, as both clubs, respectively. And yeah, like you said, I think I like how you use that word there. Both teams and both clubs have been growing, and I think you're seeing that. I think both York and Bradford are making some great headway, both on and off the field. So they're both growing considerably well, and obviously both got aspirations to be in the next tier as well in the Super League. So no, it's great to see. And like I said, I expect nothing less on Sunday than a good travelling Bradford support and a stern test against a very good Bradford side at the moment, Mick. That for me, I think are playing incredibly well, playing with a lot of confidence. So yeah, we know it's going to be a tough proposition for us on Sunday.
What do you make of the 2024 Bradford Bulls under Eamon O'Carroll?
Well,
they do arrive at York with a bit of momentum after knocking off Halifax, Featherstone, and Toulouse.
Yeah, well, I think what they've had this year. I think when I look at the squad, I think the balance of the squad looks better than it did last year. If I'm being honest, Mick, I think they've got a little bit more quality in certain positions. I know they've missed Lee Gaskell, obviously, after dropping out in that game against Wakefield. But, John Davies has been doing a solid job from there in the halves, to cover. That's probably the only area I'd say they probably need to... I'm sure Nobby will be onto that anyway, looking at probably strengthening that halfback role, to get John back into his favoured position. But that's probably the only area I see where they maybe could strengthen at the moment, because you look across the park, they've got a good fullback in McGowan, good halfback in Lilly, they've got a really strong forward pack. I think Daniel Smith's added a different dimension and dynamic in that middle third for them with his ball playing ability. So yeah, I think they're looking good, and they're playing some good stuff, but also they're defending well. They're just playing well at the moment. I just feel they're in a good place as a team, and we're going to have our work cut out for us on Sunday, that's for sure.
What's your message to your players then this weekend of this game? Because obviously I'm kind of guessing, although you're very upbeat, confidence might just be a little bit, fragile at this moment in time. Or, what's your message?
Yeah, look, well, it's just about us. It's about getting our own houses in order individually. So, at the moment, we probably don't have enough players individually, hitting the standards needed, to earn results. So we're probably not performing consistently or well enough for long enough periods in games individually and collectively. So for me, the focus is on us and just getting our own houses in order, making sure that we're doing our jobs well, do the little things well. We've got to try and build a bit of a platform for us to progress from, and if we're not good enough to get the result on the weekend, as long as we've seen certain elements of our game improve individually and collectively, then at least it gives us a platform to continue to build off. What we don't want to see is taking a step backwards and regressing. We need to make progress, on the field, and hopefully we'll perform well enough on Sunday to earn a result. Because it'll be massive for us.
And what would just finally, Andrew, what would a win this weekend do for the confidence? In the side,
that'd be massive.
With all this adversity.
Yeah, it'd be massive for the boys, mate. Like you said, because we're still not going to be at full strength. We know that. So if we can come away against a team like Bradford, who for me are playing very well at the moment, I think it does a lot for the boys' confidence. And then hopefully it gives you that. I suppose that little bit of drop the shoulders a little bit, like we're up and running. You know what I mean? And then we can really sort of kickstart and hopefully back it up with a result the week after, and then you just keep building and growing from there. So but I'm sure Bradford will be doing everything in their power this week to stop that from happening.
Cheers, Andrew. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick.